This is our first episode of what we have entitled Notable Noses, which is to interview people who are wine aficionados, who are connoisseurs, who are passionate about it. And I'm very proud to have for our first guest, Mr. Bill Hooper, a person who has been very important in the wine business here in the Twin Cities, then moved off to go to school in Germany and work in the vineyard. He went to the DLR Rhineland-Pfalz School for an enological degree, which must have been especially onerous, given it's not his native tongue, and then worked at a winery in the Pfalz called Odenstahl. So let's welcome Mr. William Hooper. Sir, how are you? How are you?
Please well.
Have a seat.
Pleasure to be here.
May I call you Bill?
I insist.
All right, thank you. And before we start, would you like a glass of water?
I would love a glass of water.
All right, excellent. So this is water.
This is good St. Paul City water here.
Yeah, St. Paul City water. So to welcome.
Salud. Thank you.
So the first question I have is that, as I said in the opening, that Bill has been in Germany working in a winery. How long have you been in Germany?
3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
And as a lover of Riesling, I have to ask, what the devil are you doing leaving Germany to come back here to America?
Well, I think, and I don't believe that we've realized our potential for Riesling in the United States yet. I think there's some producers that make some really nice stuff, but I just want to be part of that, what I feel is going to be an upswing in the popularity of Riesling, and hopefully I can help do what I can to help further that grape that I love so much.
Oh, that's admirable, and I think you're right. We have not fully appreciated the Riesling varietal.
Well, I think and I think a lot of it comes down to, Riesling's a tough grape. It's kind of like Syrah in some ways, where you buy a bottle of Syrah and you don't really know what's in the bottle. And I think Riesling even is maybe even more difficult. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what Riesling is. I think, for some consumers it remains a sweet, simple drink that they're not, that they don't consider sophisticated. And then there's people that think of Riesling as, I don't know, maybe too dry, too acidic, and there's a lot of styles in between. But I think it's also a generational thing in some ways.
Okay.
If you ask my father, he would say, Riesling is Blue Nun or Black Tower or something. But,
Right. I remember those.
Yeah.
So, do you remember your first Riesling? What that first encounter was, and was it love at first sip, or did you grow to love the wine over time?
I used to like. Okay. All right. So, here's how it kind of goes. I used to drink a lot of Chardonnay when I first started drinking wine, and I always tell people I got into wine because of my father, and it was something that we could kind of share together and explore together. But when I say that, it's bullshit. And really, what it was it was a girl.
So many things
so
are.
So many things are.
Yeah.
And so she liked to drink Chardonnay, and so I liked to drink Chardonnay. And
so did you start off pretending that you liked it, as if you were a man of knowledge, or did you?
I didn't. Well, I didn't really dislike it, but it wasn't. I was, okay, I can drink that, but it wasn't something that I really, really would go on my way to.
Yeah, and as your taste moved from Chardonnay to Riesling, did your taste in girls move also? And could you address that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I suppose it did. Buttery women. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah,
buttery, oaky women.
Yeah.
Oaken, buttery.
Oaken.
Yeah.
Woo. No, let's leave that dog lie, shall we?
Yeah. To get back to that, but the first sip of Riesling that I had was I can still remember the wine. It was a 1998 Prum, Wählen Zone Neuer Auslese, and it was. That's definitely a sweet wine, but it was very, very precise, very intense. There was a lot going on there. and there are flavors and feelings and textures that I had never found in Chardonnay. And that was, what I did was I went and grabbed an old wine book. Do you remember the Alexis Lachine wine books?
Absolutely.
And I got to figure out what's going on here. And I got to the German section of it, and it was so complicated that I decided, well, there must be something to this. I mean, why? It couldn't be that somebody would take the time to write all these things, write all these laws into a wine law without being some basis for either greatness or yeah, it was a marketing disaster, but there must be something behind it.
So does Bill Hooper, Our Man Riesling, have favor a specific region for Riesling?
Well, I guess I mean, you kind of take on the region that where you live and where you
yeah, this is I kind of thought this because Pfalz to me is has some of the more exotic expressions of Riesling in Germany, and not that I think of you as exotic, but certainly unique and individual.
Well, here's what I would say. What I think that you get from the Pfalz that you don't get from other regions in Germany, outside of a few, and I think the Nahe is also one of these regions, but if you go to the Mosel, and nothing against Mosel Riesling, because I love those wines, I enjoy them, but you're basically tasting variations of Riesling on slate.
Okay.
In different, vineyards, and there might be, a little bit more iron or a little bit more blue slate in this vineyard, and the exposures, and you're playing with, different gradients and things like that. But when you go to the Pfalz, you have so many different soil types to play with, and you can taste Riesling from, Muschelkalk, which is a limestone that has a real high percentage of seashells, and then right next to that you have Buntsandstein, which is a colored sandstone, and that gives them completely different expression. So, or basalt. I mean, there's some of the most famous vineyards in Germany have these. In Forst have these a lot of basalt in the soil, and it just brings this really exotic, very full spiciness to the wines. And there's you still have a little slate.
And isn't it so that often it's so heterogeneous that you'll find several soil types in the same vineyard?
Often. The Pfalz was it was created by mountain uplift and also by the Rhine River being dammed up in this area. So you have a lot of sea sediment, and then you have a lot of erosion, and you have a lot of mixing of soils that way. So there's a lot of volcanic, not a lot, but there's a little bit of volcanic activity in the Pfalz, in the mountains there. And yeah, all that stuff kind of spills down, and then they can mix. You can go from one vineyard that has real high basalt content, and as you go north, you're going to lose some of that and get back into Muschelkalk or something.
Yeah. Sometime we're going to have to talk about basalt a little bit more, because in Hungary, that was really brought home to me, that you would find these very specific regions of basalt that the expressions of the wines were so much more profound.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. Tell me, Hoop, is there a food that you like that's Riesling?
It depends on the Riesling, but there's a lot of different foods that you can eat with it. I think one of the reasons that, we talk about these differences in, the American palate or the British palate or the German palate in Riesling is that in America we use other white wines with cuisine that the Germans would just go direct to Riesling to. And for example, if we're drinking some kind of a veal, or if we're eating a veal cutlet or pork or something like that, we probably think maybe white Bordeaux, or maybe a Chardonnay or something like that first. And they're always going Riesling first, and then if they need to deviate from that path, then they will. Obviously there's a lot of Germanic foods, different sausages and sauerkraut and things that we think of in as being typical Germanic foods, but they play around with a lot of different things, and they have, there is a lot of different cuisine that's available there.
Well, here in America, we find it often to be the go-to grape for Asian cuisines.
Yeah, yeah, especially with a little bit of sweetness. And maybe that might be a good point to bring up, because there's not a lot of great Asian restaurants in Germany. And if there were, perhaps there would be more of an inclination to drink sweeter Riesling, sweeter style Riesling. But
they're kind of going away from that there, aren't they?
and they really are. It's very difficult to find sweet Riesling outside of maybe the Mosel or the Rheingau maybe.
At what age do you like to drink your Riesling? And you know, when I read this question, I think, you know, how old are you now? That would be a good age to drink Riesling. But I think we mean
35.
How old do you like the Rieslings to be?
I'll take them as old as I can get them.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Off the cuff, at this very moment, as of this stage in life, what wines would you serve to whom at your ideal dinner party?
Which wines? Well, you'd be at my ideal dinner party.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Could I
Which
bring
one?
something?
You could.
All right.
Yeah.
What should I bring?
Um,
You know my cellar as well as most people.
well,
so.
you know what I would say? I would say you should bring some, I don't know.
Just a category. I mean, just.
Yeah, maybe Old Barolo.
Aha.
I mean, I could definitely get into those.
Yeah. Very good. Old Barrel. Who else would you invite?
I'd probably have to invite our friend Nicholas.
He's quite a
He's a
rambunctious
character.
guy, though.
He is.
Especially around Barolo. I don't know if you know this.
No, I do know that.
All right.
And I'd probably invite Abraham Lincoln.
Interesting.
I mean, why not? If we're gonna,
Why not? And Jefferson would be interesting. He was a bit.
Yeah?
He was. I mean, not so much as the president, but as a wine consumer.
You could cut him down too. I'm sure. You know, I'm sure he talks a big game, but
Does
he know his
and I?
Barbaresco from his Barolo?
Indeed,
That's the question.
that's what's pretty clear. So, a couple of questions that are a couple of my favorites from Actors Studio.
Okay.
What would you say? What would you like to hear God say when you reach the pearly gates?
You again?
I love it. Well done. Well done. And then finally, you can't go with an interview a la the Actors Studio without asking, what's your favorite swear word?
I can't say it. My wife would slap me.
Now, go like this so we can't read your lips and say it, and we can always edit it. He's not going to.
I'm a gentleman.
All right, that's enough said, I think. I enjoyed this immensely, and I know from the audience reaction that they did as well. So,
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.